We are, Ashley, did I hear you say we were waiting, or should I kick it off? I thought I heard 5:20, but
No, we're
Oh.
ready to get going.
I invented that in my own mind. Very good. Luckily, that's not on the record, because we still haven't gotten on to kick off the meeting. So I will call this meeting to order then. Welcome all to the study session. All right, and the first item on the study session this evening is DR 25-135, Gilbert Regional Park Phase 2 and 3. And Miss Abby.
All right, good evening, Chair and Commissioners. Tonight we are discussing DR 25-135, the site plan and elevations for Gilbert Regional Park Phase 2 and 3. This project is in its very first stages and still within the first review cycle. The purpose of tonight's discussion is to gather preliminary feedback on the site and elevations. If I can get I think I'm using the wrong thing. Perfect, here we go. All right. The site is generally located at the southwest corner of Queen Creek and Higley Roads and is zoned public facilities / institutional. The project consists of the remaining 220 acres of the total 258-acre Gilbert Regional Park. Phases 2 and 3 include ball fields, multi-use fields, fitness areas, a skate park, a dog park, nature areas, play areas, restrooms, a flex space building, a maintenance / co-working building, and 1,784 new parking spaces. The site is broken into 7 zones, and the first shown here are A and B. Zone A is part of Phase 3 and includes the flex house building, multi-use fields, a restroom, and ramadas. Zone B is part of Phase 2 and is slated to be the first zone to open. It includes the maintenance building, various shade structures, restrooms, a concession stand, and ball fields. Zone C is part of Phase 3 and includes a climbing structure, multi-use fields, a restroom, and ramadas. Zone D is part of Phase 2 and includes a bike park, skate park, and ramadas. Zone E is part of Phase 2 and includes playgrounds, ramadas, and a restroom. Zone F is part of Phase 2 and includes a dog park, restroom, and shade structures. The final Zone G is part of Phase 2 and includes retention basins and a disc golf course. The project has 47% landscape coverage total. Some of the trees include, but are not limited to, mulga, willow acacia, Bubba desert willow, ironwood, blue palo verde, Phoenix thornless mesquite, and tepu trees. While Street View did not provide the best examples of the existing restrooms found in Phase 1, you can see the similar theme of an angled roof with pops of color was brought into Phases 2 and 3. Next, we have the existing amphitheater found in Phase 1 of Gilbert Regional Park. It has an angular, somewhat monolithic design, and you can see between the existing site photos and proposed elevations on the bottom, this same design has been carried over into Phases 2 and 3. The Flex House is a 26,800 square foot, 41-foot tall building, which will act as a multi-purpose space. While the idea is cohesive with the existing and proposed angular theme of the buildings found on site, staff is concerned about the overall design. From the elevations, we can see the building rests upon 10-foot stilts and a 16-foot high CMU block. Staff is unsure why the building is being raised or what the plans are for the space underneath. There are also only 2 sets of double doors on the west elevation, which do not convey a sense of entry or welcome. The building also does not have any windows. The bulk of wall materials used are metal wall panels. The maintenance building and co-working space is a 14,640 square foot building. It includes internal maintenance parking, a fuel station, dumpsters, storage, wash bays, and service bays. The office portion of the building includes private offices, cubicles, conference rooms, and restrooms. The building is located west of Higley Road off the main entry on Champions Way. As seen on the Flex House, this elevation is also a majority of metal wall panels. Staff is concerned with the usage of metal as a primary material and the dark color scheme. Although this site is zoned public facility and institutional, staff has made it policy to ensure no buildings in the commercial or industrial zones utilize metal as a primary wall pane material. Staff does not feel this building is as cohesive to the rest of Gilbert Regional Park as it potentially could be. At this time, staff is seeking general feedback on the overall site and Flex House/maintenance building elevations.
Okay, thank you very much. Who wants to kick off some questions or input here for Abby? Commissioner Anderson, please, thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. The questions I have is, it sounds like staff's not too thrilled with the architecture and design of the buildings, so who's directing the architect on the design from the town's level? I mean, should not, whoever that is, are they not telling them kind of, hey, this is, hey, they have a typical client-architect relationship where architect designs something, presents it to the client, sounds like you guys don't like what you're being shown, give feedback, goes back to the architect, they come up with another design. Like, how's this process working? Like, it seems like that's not connecting to me right now.
Thank you, Chair and Commissioner. The project is still within its first review and comments have not been made. So we brought it forward to study session for preliminary feedback and try and get some guidance on these elevations.
So let me ask it this way. So this design process probably started months, maybe a year ago. So this isn't the first time you guys are seeing this, and you're kind of giving the impression as though you are. So from your presentation, it sounds like staff's just not pleased with the design. So if staff's not pleased with the design, is that safe to assume that whoever the architect is working in with the town, that person's not pleased, or is that person directing the architect for this? I guess I'm a little confused as to what's being presented. How did we get to this point if staff's not pleased with what they're seeing? I mean, personally, I think, you know, it's kind of cool looking. You know, the first building is shown, looks kind of like, I kind of agree. That one I'm not too crazy about. It looks like they're trying to be Frank Gehry-like with it. If you're familiar with that architect, I'm not a really big fan of him. But the other building, what was the other structure you were showing? That one there. I get staff's point, like, you just don't want metal as a primary material on the building. I mean, I think it's a cool looking building, and I think, you know, it would look, the metal would actually look really cool on it, but if staff's not happy with it, like, who's directing them to get to this point?
Abby, if you don't mind, I'll jump in. So the town has been engaged with this project for, as you mentioned, for quite some time, having biweekly meetings with the development team. We have been participating in that process, but it's been largely, you know, kind of high-level amenities at the park. This is the first time that we've gotten this level of detail to review from the planning perspective, and so our role in that review is ensuring that it is consistent with our design guidelines where, you know, kind of prior to the design review submittal, it's been a lot of conceptual discussions. And so we want to make sure that as it moves forward, we gain input from Planning Commission as well, to kind of align with our typical comments from a planning perspective, because we have not participated in review of this building through those design meetings. There is a large team at the town, but this is the first time planning has kind of seen this level of detail.
Okay, so is planning not, is there nobody representative of planning within these design meetings between the town and the architect?
So we attend those meetings when we're able to.
Okay. Well, I know how busy you guys, you know, you schedule, so I know. Okay. Yeah, well, that's my 2 cents on this, and, you know, I'll back whatever you guys, I mean, at the end of the day, it's your guys' project that you're bringing to the town, so whatever design decisions you feel are needed, I'll back that. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Anderson. Anybody else?
Yes, please.
Vice Chair, take it away.
I kind of held back because I thought Commissioner Anderson is usually very insightful and goes into aesthetics that I don't understand, but he went right down the path that I was going to. This item, that Abby, you did real well. I don't want to take this as but it seems like this item is primarily a internal communications issue within the staff. I mean, not just planning staff, but the rest of the staff. It doesn't seem like, we are a legitimate body to solve a disagreement if staff and an applicant feel differently, but if there's a disagreement within staff, that's a city manager issue, I think. And so if there is disagreement between the departments, I would hope that that would be resolved at the city manager level and brought here when staff is of a mind. So I'm not actually sure where to, I'm supportive of staff, but I'm not even sure really what, I think I'm hearing what planning staff wants, which is different than maybe what engineering or CIP staff want. And it sounds like that's kind of hanging out there.
Chairman, Commissioner Fay, if I might, I don't know that there's necessarily a disagreement amongst staff. I think we have, this is our opportunity to provide some planning feedback on the design, how it complies with our codes. This is typically how projects come through our process. They're kind of developed by the users of that space, and then they come through planning, and we do our review, and then we bring it before our Planning Commission and Design Review Board for feedback to see if we're kind of hitting the mark from a community perspective. So I would still ask that Commission provide, typical feedback as if this was, any project that we're seeking your input on.
The part I think might, either I haven't seen it or it isn't the process. We've seen this come through this process before. What we haven't seen is it come through this process and staff is not in agreement with each other. Either that hasn't happened or this is new.
Well, and it might help too if I kind of back up and give you a little bit more perspective. And Abby shared from the beginning that this is very early in our review. We are still within first review, so we haven't had that really back and forth with the applicant. But they were eager to hear some feedback from our Planning Commission through a study session.
But in a way, you're the applicant. You're not only just a plan reviewer, you're also the applicant, is kind of how I'm looking at it too. So it just seems like as the applicant, you're the client. And it doesn't seem like there's been, the way the project is presented right now, it doesn't seem like you guys were treated as a client, I guess. It sounds like what's being presented is not what the town wants, is kind of how I'm seeing things right now. Yeah, so it's like a different situation compared to like other planning cases that we see. Yeah, so.
Sounds a lot like a hair club for men, where he's a client, but he also owns it.
Okay,
Anyone else have any comments that they would like to share? Commissioner Davis?
Thank you, Chair. I just want to add that I agree with staff that those two buildings could use a little more. I think it's important for the town to set a standard of excellence for buildings. If we're expecting this of the development community, I think it's fair to put those same requirements on ourselves and make sure that the town is, building something that contributes to the whole community. So I agree with you that those buildings could use a little bit more. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Chair and Commissioner.
Thank you. Anyone else? Commissioner Lyon?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would just like to agree with Commissioner Davis. I think they both could use a little bit more work, particularly the one without any windows. I think it's a little stark, and I'm not sure, like the staff was mentioning, what they plan to do that with that space under it, because they'd probably have to gate it off so people don't go under there. Just kind of an odd shape, but if there's any reasoning that the architect gave for this, or if there's a particular vision that they had, it might be helpful for us to understand. But right now, without that vision, I'm not really understanding how this fits for Gilbert. Also, something that staff mentioned, the metal walls. I don't know about you guys, but if you've ever been around metal when it's 115 degrees outside, and it's going to be a very hot building, and probably not the best choice for a majority of the material on the building. maybe some accents, but might be something they want to take another look at. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other comments or questions? Okay, well, outside of some of the, I guess, procedural issues that have come up, the building does look kind of bleak. I don't know if that's by design, if that's hip or something. I'm not really, I'm an engineer, so it's hard for me to make any real distinction of what's cool or not. And I think, is the building the primary, I guess, objected piece on this? Like, is there comments as it relates to the layout of the retention or anything else? Or is the town okay with that, like the general layout of it?
Thank you, Chair. At this point, the town doesn't have concerns with the layout. It's just mostly the elevations of this building specifically.
Okay. Yeah. So from my perspective, I think this building could use some work and could, you know, it's going to likely be a very visual representation of that park that is a major showcase for the town. So I think there's some work we can do, and I would agree with that. So, all right, hopefully that helps, Abby.
It does. Thank you, Chair and Commissioners.
Thank you. Okay, moving right along into DR 25100, Harvest Grove Commercial, and the one and only Keith Newman.
Excuse me, Chair, I need
Oh.
to recuse myself.
Yes, we have a recusal.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner.
Chairman Munt, members of the commission, good evening. So as you stated, my case for study session tonight is for the Harvest Grove commercial project. So the Harvest Grove, the commercial, one of the commercial components of Harvest Grove, and it's highlighted here in red on this site, is at that far northwest corner of the overall 311 or so acre master plan. I'll show you the development plan here in a second, but the site is about 26 or 27 and a half net acres. And like I stated, as part of that overall master plan, the Harvest Grove, that is still going through the general plan and rezoning process. We have a hearing coming up for that, so that in middle of December, here in a couple weeks, so that rezoning has not, and general plan amendment have not yet been finally considered by our town council. This project, which is the design review, the applicant obviously has submitted this design review case at risk. If the Harvest Grove overall development does not get approved, and I know it's stated in your staff report, then this project would not move forward, this design review case. So today, we're just bringing this before you to get some feedback on the design of the site and the architectural design of some of the elevations. So I already stated what the request is. Show you the master plan here, the site plan for this development. 27 and a half or so acres. The site, which is located at that southeast corner of Germain and Val Vista Drive, will have 163,000 square feet of commercial/retail space. And I have a breakdown in this table of all the different sizes of all the different buildings. You have the Fry's Marketplace. It's about 100,000 square feet, will be the anchor to this development. With that Fry's Marketplace, there is a little gas station. There's a gas station component with a gas canopy with 16 pumps. They will have the typical a convenience store associated with that gas station, about 1,100 square feet convenience store, and that's all to the north there, right along Germain Road. In addition to the Fry's Marketplace, there will be about 74,000 square feet of shops and pads. There's a total of 11 shops or pad building sites. Those are spread out along Germain Road and along Val Vista Drive. You can see all those on the site plan. They all range in size from as large as 12,600 square feet all the way down to a little over 2,000 square feet. So you have some of the shops are already, there's a few of them or not the shops, but some of the pads are already leased. It looks like 2 of them are leased. There is a bank, and I believe there's a car wash also that may have a lease agreement already signed. I'm not sure on that, but I know the bank does, Mountain America Credit Union, or a commitment at least. Obviously, these other pads, they're still, my understanding is trying to secure tenants for these other pads. The elevation designs that you have in the packet show the elevations for some of these buildings, for the shops buildings, shops A, B, C, and D. There are designs for those. We have the designs for the Mountain America Credit Union building, and of course the Fry's. So those are the designs we have at this time. This is a part of a master site plan approval as part of the DR case. So those site plans, those designs of the pad sites that we don't have elevations for in the packet today and moving forward, those will have to come in later for their own design review case. If they're less than 5,000 square feet, the building, they can do an admin design review. If not, they will have to come back before you as a planning commission for approval. The overall site design, we're going to stay on this slide, shows the Fry's towards the back, towards the east side. You have some residential that is proposed to the south of that, and there's also some residential proposed to the east. As I stated a minute ago, the shops designs are all up along the roadway frontages. There are quite a few entrances. There's 2 entrances along Germain Road. There are three entrances along Val Vista Drive, actually 1, 2 on Val Vista. There is an entrance off, a few entrances off of Rome Street as well, so the site has ample access. Very large site. So as far as the design of the buildings is concerned, landscaping is concerned, I wanted to show you the landscaping and the open space plan. Landscaping, a lot of landscaping will be up along the roadway frontages. I know that the landscape plan has been included in your packet, and of course in the parking areas and as many open space areas as possible. There is 15.5% of landscaping on the site, and I can really show you that even better where those are located on this open space plan. The minimum standard for landscaping is 15%, so they are just a little bit above the minimum requirement from a landscaping perspective. Before we move on to the building elevations, I do want to note that as part of the process, staff, as the overall master plan, staff has been reviewing and analyzing a traffic impact analysis, which this site is part of that overall traffic impact analysis for the whole master site plan, for the whole 311 acres. We do not have an approved traffic impact analysis as of today. So I wanted to let you know that. We're still working on that with the applicant and their engineering team. Rome Street, which is the street to the east, there will be some changes to Rome Street that they are proposing, so that's something that will be also analyzed in the TIA. But I just wanted, traffic engineering team wanted me to bring up that the TIA has not yet been approved for this site and for the whole master development, and that is all in progress. Building elevations. So these are some of the shops buildings. You have shops A, and the design theme of all of these buildings, we've worked really hard with the applicant and we appreciate all their efforts. The theme of this development is a more agrarian style of architectural design. So you can see the pitched roofs, the gable roofs, the building materials consist of things like standing seam metal for the roofing and for canopies. You have various styles of block or brick. There's board and batten siding. You have board and batten metal siding, and you also, there's some board and batten wood type siding as well. Various tones and colors of different bricks and finishes of brick as well. But the biggest thing is the roof lines and the roof designs. There's various styles and types of those designs, flat roofing and pitch roofing. So these buildings, like this shops building, you can see how this would look agrarian. Kind of a more modern, a little bit modern, a little bit of modern theme to it as well. So I'm just going to go through these. Here's the Shops A building. These are right up along Val Vista and Germain, right at that corner. So here's another one of those buildings. And this one's kind of unique. It's got this really cool gable type canopy structure that you can see kind of on the south and really show it to you on the west there. So that's pretty unique. And then the north elevation will face the street frontage, and these buildings are pushed right up against the street. So you can see a lot of the agrarian theming that has been designed into this building. And then here's another Shops building, similar but different, still different. And then the Shops D building. So you can see all the materials and the roof lines and the form of these buildings are all related to each other, not identical, but related, and you can see how that agrarian theme ties into one building to the next. Here's the Mountain America Credit Union building. So this one has a little bit of a different type of roof design, but you still have a lot of the same building materials and colors, which are similar to these colors. You have a lot of earthy tones. This one has some light green, but you have some kind of like reddish color for some of the brick and some light black colors and some white. So this kind of carries through on this Mountain America building as well. A lot of windows in this building too. So the next is the Fry's Marketplace. We've had quite a few meetings with the architect for Fry's Marketplace and the developer to kind of fine-tune this building. We're really appreciative of them for working with us on this building. You see, this is the north elevation, and you can see the agrarian theming in this building. You have the gable roofing, you have kind of a barn door effect on some of the sliding doors, on some of the doors, and especially for the area where they keep all the grills and stuff, which is kind of, you can kind of see it below where it says sign, so that's kind of that area there. And then you have a really cool gable-looking canopy on the north side of the building over where, that's where you would pick up like your pharmacy. It's like the drive-through for the pharmacy. And then you can't really tell on this design and on these graphics, but you have varying materials. You have some brick, different finishes of brick and different colors of brick. And then the whitish gray, light white color is a board and batten, actually board and batten wood siding versus metal siding that's on some of the shops. So these are and then standing seam metal for the main canopies over the entryways and in the center of the building. This is the north. It's kind of, the top image is the north elevation, and then the bottom image shows it a little more in perspective, and you can kind of see the rear elevation, which is on the east side of the building, kind of at the same time. So one thing in your packet that I mentioned at the very end is that we wanted to get a little bit of feedback from you on the design of the north, the east, and the south elevations. The north elevation faces Germain Road. The east elevation faces Rome Street and Future Residential, and the south elevation faces Future Residential. They do provide some varying materials and parapet wall heights and some canopies and things, but we wanted to get your input on the design. We are about ready to release second review comments, and we're going to have a few comments on there asking the applicant to kind of add a little more articulation on some of these elevations, maybe carry some of the materials from the front of the building to at least that north elevation, which faces Germain Road, and then also the rear elevation, which is the east elevation. We're going to work with the applicant the best we can to try and make that a little bit more attractive facing residential, and I'll show you that. So this is kind of the east and the south elevations. So since these do face residential, we'd kind of like them to try and spruce these up just a little bit more, and we would like your input on how you think that could be done. we have some ideas, but it would be great to hear your feedback as well. So that's basically Fry's Marketplace. Okay, I forgot there's the loading dock. Loading dock is screened by a 14-foot tall wall on the east side. So that is it. That concludes my presentation. And again, design of Fry's Marketplace on those north, east, and south elevations. We'd love your input. And then also the overall design of the site. Get your thoughts on that design. And I'm open for any questions if you have any. Thank you.
Thank you kindly, Mr. Keith. Who would like to open up some questioning? Commissioner Wong?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the presentation, Keith. This is part of the big master plan and still under review or approval process through the town council level, and also the traffic study has not been approved. So I guess, can you help me to understand a little bit better the process of we going through this case while subject to maybe change? Depends on the master plan and the traffic study, is that correct?
Yes, Chairman, Commissioner Huang, correct. This is part of the overall master plan, part of that overall rezoning case that's still not finalized. And yes, the TIA is still in progress. It's still in process as far as approval of the overall. It's going to be approved in conjunction with the overall master plan. The design of this shopping center and the design review case, the applicant decided to submit at risk, knowing that there's a potential for the overall rezoning project to not either not be approved or not go through or not happen. So it's at their risk, and they decided to take that risk, and we allow that. The design of the shopping center is not going to change from now until the potential approval of the overall master plan. Some of the overall master plan design is potentially going to be changing, but this shopping center will not be changing. The design will be as proposed. So if that overall master plan gets approved, the overall zone change for the whole 311 acres, this applicant will move forward a month or two after that and come back before you, but we're not expecting any changes from this design that you see in front of you today. But we just wanted to get this in front of you to introduce this commercial shopping center to you, so that if and when the zone change does get approved, that they can move forward pretty quickly.
Right.
I hope that all makes sense, and I hope I did a good job answering your question.
It does, but what so we talked about, all this access through that master plan. We have a lot of discussion about Rome Street versus Colorado, and without, clear where we are we fixing that central corridor? Because one of the requests you're asking is the back of that Fry's building, what's that look? So if that is a main corridor with all the residents going through, that would be one thing. But if that potentially move, not having that central corridor, then, we don't have that much of say what does the back look like. So that's what I'm trying to gauge where we are with that, master plan and also the traffic study. Because again, depends on where the traffic study, are they required to modify the signal? Are they required to have, because I see a lot of median break on Val Vista, at least two, I think, and in a relatively short distance. So that's something that part of this feedback are you guys seeking, or?
Chairman, Commissioner Huang, so we are still working with the applicant on the design of the residential component of the overall development. Rome Street is not going, that center spine is still going to be there. They're not changing the location of Rome Street. They're not changing any of the medians or median breaks along Val Vista or any of the potential traffic signal locations. There's a proposed potential traffic signal at Germain and Rome. That's not going my knowledge, that's not going to change. But that center spine road, everything you see on this site plan right now will not be changing. That spine road will still be there in the exact same spot.
Okay. So it sounds to me the perimeter, it's gonna be fixed. All you're asking is, the look, the
Correct.
architectural
That's
inside.
correct.
Okay, all right, that's clear to me. Thank you.
That is correct. You're welcome.
Commissioner Davis, please.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Keith. I'll start with the site design. I don't have any significant issues with that. I do appreciate that at the arterial corner, we have shops and not a drive-through, so that's a really good thing. I think that with Rome going through there, Fry's has done some, nice buildings recently in the town, and I think this one is off to a good start, but I do think it needs a lot more, particularly on the north and the east. You're coming down Rome Street, you're going to see so much of that building, and there is nothing that doesn't look like a back of a building that has a few things to dress it up. I think it needs to go probably further than other stores that don't have that visibility coming in on Rome. That's a significant entry into their neighborhood. I would think they would want that to be, dressed up so that it has a better appearance and presence to Rome. Also, there's not a lot of landscaping buffering it, so it really is going to be a harsh environment and not pleasing when you enter, and it's pretty close to that entrance. So I do think that they need to take a look at that. In the packet, we have a design inspiration example in there, and I think what I see there is a lot of warmth with a lot of wood tones and things. So it's pretty simple, and I'm okay with simple, but I think that it doesn't have the warmth that the rest of the buildings in the center have. And I get they may want to stand out a little bit, but maybe they bring in some of those wood tones and things to kind of warm it up and, step up the design and make it something great, because it's a big building. So I think that is all I've got. So appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. No drainage? No. Okay, yeah, I think, from what I can tell, the site plan looks good, and I like that look at the Fry's building, and I think I would agree that they've done a lot of good work in the recent history, so no major comments from me, Keith. Oh, Commissioner Line, do you have something? Please, sorry.
Could I just add one thing really quick, Mr. Chair? I know, Keith, I've mentioned this a couple times. I'm really big on the selection of trees that are planted in different.
Commissioner Lyons, sorry to interrupt. Can you, I can't really hear you very well. If you could
Kind of lost
speak
my
up
voice
just a little bit, please. Thank you.
I think I mentioned a couple times to you that I'm really big on selecting trees that people are going to thank us for 10 years, 20 years down the line. I see there's 173 Palo Verde trees. I feel like that's a lot of Palo Verde trees, and nobody's particularly fond of them. And I know that they are the state tree, and I don't mean to disrespect the state tree, but if we could maybe get a little bit more of red push or evergreen elms mixed in there, I just feel like that's a lot of those little yellow things all over everyone's car. So, and something with a little bit more shade, because those don't really provide much shade. Thank you.
Commissioner Anderson, go ahead.
Keith, thank you for the presentation. Just a quick question for you. Looking at the site plan, in the top left corner of where the Fry's is in the parking lot, that's where all the EV chargers are. There's quite a few of them there. What's your thoughts on, the distance of that to the building itself? So as you know, I mean, just a ton of EV cars out there these days. And say you're going to Fry's, you want to plug in. To have them all kind of corralled in that one corner. What's your thoughts on maybe taking a few of those and moving them closer to the building?
Chair Munt, Commissioner Anderson, that's a good observation. To be honest, I haven't even thought about that at all. I knew that they were there, but haven't put a lot of thought in as far as the distance from those spaces in relationship to the buildings. So that's something, we're not done with this second review yet, so maybe that's something we take a harder look at.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Anderson.
Can I just
Commissioner
add
Wang?
one?
Yes,
Yeah,
go ahead.
Since Rome Street gonna be there, and it's gonna be one of those main entrance going to the residential, I would suggest and like to see more shielding from the back of the building of that Fry's, because, you know, nobody want to go home and see a bunch of delivery trucks and, you know, in the back, so maybe some landscape or dress it up in the back, just some comments, so.
Thank you. Yes, this building does have quite a bit of street frontage, more than most Fry's buildings do, or large grocery stores. So I appreciate the comments.
Very good. All right, well, I think we're all set then, Keith, unless you
Okay.
need anything else.
That's it. I think we've got it. Thank you very much. I
Thank you,
appreciate
sir.
your comments and your feedback.
All right, moving right along, we have a discussion of the regular meeting agenda, everybody's favorite part. So as it stands currently, we have a consent calendar that consists of item 8, 9, which is being continued, and 10. Does it,
Did you say consent or non-consent?
oh, I said consent, but then I read non-consent, so thank you for the clarification. So the consent happens to be empty. Non-consent, rather, consists of 8, 9, which is being continued, and 10. And I don't know, I assume, I don't have any comments, but I think they all need to stay. Does anyone else have any thoughts on trying to move anything onto the currently barren consent calendar? No?
They can, I was gonna say, they continued May, but it's not worth doing.
No, it's easier to open it and vote, because they'll probably legally want us to do that anyway, so, okay, everything remains as is then. No exciting action. So that will, with that, we will adjourn the study session, and we will see everyone back for a fun and exciting 6 o'clock start to our regular meeting. Thank you.
Woo-hoo.
All righty then, without further ado, I'd like to call to order the regular meeting here. And first call of the business here will be the Pledge of Allegiance. Joe, please join me. All right, thank you. And with that, Ashley, could we please get a roll call?
Commissioner Wong,
Here.
Commissioner Lyon,
Here.
Commissioner Gage,
Here.
Commissioner Davis,
Here.
Commissioner Anderson,
Yeah.
Vice Chair Fay,
Here.
and Chairman Munt.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Okay, discussion and approval of agenda. I believe we are just leaving the agenda as is. So
I don't think we have to do anything.
I don't think we do anything, yeah, as long as there's no changes, so I'll just move right along then. Communications, item 6, communications from citizens. At this point, members of the public may comment on matters within the jurisdiction of the Planning Commission. The commission may not discuss items that are not specifically identified on the agenda. Therefore, pursuant to state law, action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, responding to any criticism, or scheduling that matter for further consideration. I do not have any cards for individuals who wish to speak outside of the agenda items. Is there anyone here that wanted to speak on something not on the agenda? Okay. Very good. Then with that, I will move to item number 7, the report from the council liaison on current events, and Councilmember Lyons.
Just want to encourage everybody to enjoy the holidays. We ask you to be safe and be mindful of traffic around town. You notice there's a lot of people walking around looking at their phones while they're doing shopping, trying to navigate, and our police department is doing their best to raise awareness. So I just encourage everybody to enjoy the holidays, be careful, be kind to others. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Okay, this will take us directly into the meat and potatoes of the public hearing consent. And given that there is no public hearing consent, I won't belabor us all with the reading of everything that goes into the consent. And I will move us directly into the public hearing non-consent. Non-consent public hearing items will be heard at an individual public hearing and will be acted upon by the commission by a separate motion. During the public hearings, anyone wishing to comment in support or in opposition to a public hearing item may do so. If you wish to comment on a public hearing item, you must fill out a public comment form, indicating the item number on which you wish to be heard. Once the hearing is closed, there will be no further public comment unless requested by a member of the commission. On to number 8. We have S25-05 NWC of Lindsay and Elliott pre-plat amendment and Mr. Sal DeSanto.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. Sal DeSanto, Planner 2. The application that we'll be taking a look at tonight is for S22-01-A or S25-05, which is the northwest corner of Lindsay and Elliott pre-plat amendment. Just to provide a little bit of context to the subject site, the property outlined in blue is the proposed subject site and is roughly 3.63 acres. The subject site is for the development of a 10-lot, single-family residential subdivision, which is currently under construction. The subject site itself is directly adjacent to single-family residential to the west and the south, and directly to the north and the east, we have the adjacent canals, and just beyond those would be some additional single-family residential. Before diving into some of the details of the application, I thought it would be beneficial to go over the timeline and history of the site just to provide some additional context. So back in June of 2022, the original preliminary plat and open space plan for the 33 North Residential Subdivision, which is the subject site, was originally approved by the Planning Commission. Fast forward a bit of time, in March of 2025, we received the administrative amendment to the open space plan, which is the application we'll be taking a look at today. Just after that submittal of the administrative open space plan, we did bring the set of standard plans for the 33 North Residential Subdivision to the Planning Commission, which ultimately did receive approval in April. At that time, a few members of the community did come and speak on the item. Specifically, the concerns were regarding the accuracy of the property lines that were shown in the previously approved preliminary plat. Specifically, it was that the westernmost property line had been incorrectly represented on the existing subdivision, meaning that there was, at the time, shown a shared screen wall and property line, where in actuality the property line was just a bit to the east, creating a bit of an offset of the property line and the existing screen wall. After receiving the information from the surrounding community members that there were some inconsistencies with the originally approved preliminary plat, a certificate of correction was submitted to the town's Development Engineering Department in July of this year to accurately depict the proposed property line. And while this updated plan did acknowledge one of the issues of the incorrect representation of the property line, another issue still remained, and it was the fact that the perimeter screen wall was not located on the true property line, but rather located on the lots of the Stonebridge Lakes residents, which are just to the west. In here, I wanted to provide that original wall and fence plan that was a part of that preliminary plat package. And here along that western border, you can see that a existing wall was to remain on a shared property line. And we fast forward to the updated plan with the corrected representation of the property line, and this is what the applicant has brought to you all tonight. Unfortunately, at this time, it doesn't appear that the developer and the neighboring community members have been able to resolve this issue related to a shared wall on a shared property line. So the applicant has decided to pursue a new design in regards to those rear lots 1 through 6. And here on the plan, I know it may be difficult to see, but that green line shown along the west is the existing screen wall on the Stonebridge Lakes properties. Just next to that is a solid black line which represents the true property line, and just beyond that to the east is a proposed view fence that is proposed 3 feet east of the true property line. And each of the lots 1 through 6 would have individual gates to provide direct access into this new 3-foot buffer area, as well as the east-west perpendicular walls going or heading to the true property line, so there wouldn't be any issues related to trespassing from those north-south lots. And on the plan, it is difficult to see, but those individual door swings are located on the southern portions of that property. And the ultimate reason why this design was landed upon is the fact that we wanted to, as staff, ensure that there was no development of a double wall, as this was a condition of development with the original approval, and it's also been a practice and policy with the planning department to deter from these double wall designs. The other purpose to this development is to enclose the rear lots of each of these Woodside homes, or I'm sorry, 33 North lots, which would be 1 through 6. And the last piece of it was to ensure that there was no encroachment onto the Stonebridge Lakes properties. Here we have another look at this view fence placement. As you can see in that zoomed-in image in the circle just to the left, you can see the existing screen wall on the Stonebridge Lakes properties, the adjusted property line, and then the proposed view fence. That proposed view fence was ultimately landed on at a 3-foot distance, as this 3-foot buffer helped establish room for maintenance, as well as the screen wall design providing visibility into these buffer areas. Because per our code, a double wall is established or occurs when there is an inability to provide room for maintenance, visibility, and safety. So the applicant has provided that screen wall with the associated gates to ensure that it doesn't fall within the realm of a double wall. Beyond the fence and wall discussion, there are a couple other pieces associated with this application. Typically, this would be seen as an administrative application with planning and the rest of our development services staff, but we wanted to ensure with some of the neighborhood outreach and back and forth communications between staff, developer, and neighbors that we had an opportunity to bring this to the Planning Commission for a further discussion. But these other changes you will notice have to do with the pedestrian amenities. So to the east in this open space area, there is a pedestrian trail that connects to the adjacent canal pathways, and the applicant is requesting to incorporate a few more benches and pedestrian amenities in that node. The other component to the application is a residential subdivision monument sign, which would be located to the south of the property, and the other piece of it is the inclusion of a pedestrian gate in that northern cul-de-sac where the previous approval did not have that. As for landscape and planting, the updated open space plan amendment does remain consistent with that original approval with landscape species, plantings, and just overall connectivity to those canal paths that staff found very important to the development. In regards to public participation, we have received quite a bit of feedback from neighboring community members. We've received roughly 10 emails or so and various phone conversations regarding the proposed view fence along that western boundary. Many of the concerns were related to the placement of the proposed view fence and its adjacency to the existing screen wall, the potential for grading and drainage impacts to the Stonebridge Lakes residents, and the some additional concerns related to maintenance and access into this new buffer area. Through these conversations, the neighbors have also let us know that they are still willing to work with a developer to establish a screen wall on the correct property line. But to this point, it doesn't seem that there has been a resolution made between the two parties. So we are presenting this updated design to help accommodate some of those issues related to those rare lots. And with that, staff does approve, or I'm sorry, does recommend approval of S22-01-A. And I just wanted to ensure I verbally cleaned up some of the items that may have been in the staff report. So initially, it stated, I believe, Porchlight Homes, but I wanted to adjust that paragraph to state that the request to approve an open space plan for Woodside Homes for 10 lots, 1 through 10, on approximately 3.63 acres, located north of the northeast corner of Lindsay Road and Elliott Road in the SF7 zoning district with a planned area development overlay. With that, I wanted to make sure that I adjusted the language in the conditions itself. So for A, it now reads that the open space plans for 33 North and construction of the project shall be in substantial conformance with Exhibit 5, the complete open space plan package, and Exhibit 6, the wall placement exhibit. Lastly, I wanted to touch on the other conditions that have been proposed in the packet, and it's the fact that moving forward and prior to the issuance of permits, a plan change is required for submittal with the Town of Gilbert Development Engineering staff, and carrying over the condition from the previous preliminary plat that the construction of double walls shall not be permitted. Reconstruction of walls shall be coordinated with the adjoining property owners to mitigate disturbance during construction. All costs associated with said reconstruction shall be the responsibility of the developer. And that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to field any questions, comments you may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sal. Does anybody have any comments or questions before we move on? Please, Vice Chair.
Sal, thank you very much for presenting on what's a kind of a convoluted, this is a tough one. But I did, the maintenance issue between the two walls, so the new homeowners will have a gate so they can get into the little buffer zone. My understanding is the old homeowners, I should say, sorry, the spry and young neighbors, existing neighbors, a little bit of the land is theirs, and they can't get into, is the expectation that the new homeowners will be doing that? I mean, it's not much, it's a few inches, 3, 6, 7 inches, but is the expectation that the new homeowners will be doing it?
Chair Fay, I'm sorry, Chair Munt, Commissioner Fay, at this point, we haven't had any discussion or information in regards to who will be maintaining that buffer. Traditionally, the property owner is responsible for the maintenance of their own lot, but in this situation, I don't have the exact answer for you, Commissioner Fay, unfortunately. As this wall, has been placed inward to that property line for quite some time, and I'm not sure how maintenance has been occurring on that lot until this application has come in, but I'm happy to gather some more information for you for future discussion.
It's not that important. I mean, I assume the farmer's been basically maintaining up to the wall, and everybody was, it's old Gilbert, it's close enough, small town. Okay, thank you.
Very well. Commissioner Davis, are you? I'm wondering, but I think I'm good. Okay, Commissioner Anderson?
Thank you for the presentation. I just want to make sure I'm understanding what's being presented right now, and I'm looking at a blow-up of the wall. So I guess the first question I have is, just to make sure I'm understanding it correctly, is the developer built a new wall, correct? This isn't an existing wall?
Chair Munt, Commissioner Anderson, a new wall hasn't been built just yet, so the original approval anticipated the sharing of that existing wall on the property line, but it's come to be that property line is just east of the existing screen wall. So the developer is requesting to build a view fence along the rears of lots 1 through 6 to help enclose those lots, limit any kind of spillover into the Stonebridge Lakes residents,
Let me ask the question this way then. So the wall that's there now is existing. When was that wall built approximately?
I believe that was built in the mid to late 80s,
So
if
it's
I'm not
been
mistaken.
there a long time.
Quite some time.
And whoever put that wall in place sometime back then didn't know where, somebody screwed up where the property line was, and they didn't build it on the exact property line. Is that a correct statement?
That is correct. At the
Okay.
time, the wall was...
So what's being requested now is, hey, let's leave that wall where it is. We know where the true property line is. We're going to build this view fence there and create this 3-foot wide alleyway. Is that what's being presented?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
But wait, in terms of an alley, I think it's more because the lateral go through and,
I'm using alley as a different term.
Okay.
So, I mean.
because that's initially what I thought too, is we're going to have a 3-foot alley all the way.
They're playing it off nicely, calling it a buffer, where in actually, I'm looking at it as, essentially, it's an alley, especially if you're going to provide access to it.
Except it's the little segment is only the back of each yard. There's lateral walls that cut off.
So the way I'm looking at it is there's an existing wall here. They're being proposed to put a view fence here.
Yep.
In between is some space that people can access from the new owner's side. So I'm looking at that as an alleyway.
Except that it's cut off on the,
I think I'm probably going
can't
to
get into
get
your
yelled
neighbor's-
at soon by the attorney that we can't have banter back and forth because the minutes won't reflect it. But I think the question that we're talking about is in this buffer area, do each of the individual lots 1 through 6 represented on this have a little wall that's going that 3.5 feet between themselves. So in other words, only individual A who buys lot 1 would have the ability to maintain that, whatever feet that is between whatever his lot pertains, correct?
Correct.
And the view fence is going onto the new property owner's property, away from where the actual property line is, so that within this no man's land of trench warfare here, they will have access to maintain their 2 foot 9 inches, and the other property owner has access to break through his wall and deal with his 6 inches. Is that, in essence, what we're talking about?
Essentially, yes. So each lot, it's kind of tough here to show. The view fence that is being proposed, as you mentioned, is going to be set back 3 feet from the existing property line, and this is to ensure that a constant buffer is maintained throughout that entire stretch. While there is no true access that can span through all the lots, those perpendicular walls will go to the true property line, so there is no crossover between these north-south lots.
Okay.
I'm sorry, that brings up another question.
Vice Chair, please.
The perpendicular walls will go to the true property line, which is itself 3 to 8 inches short of the existing wall. So I was saying that these are like little corrals behind each property, but they are a little bit like an alleyway, because the perpendicular wall won't connect to the existing. There'll be a gap.
Correct, because the wall currently is situated on the Stonebridge Lakes residence, and this would, the intent is to bring those walls as close to the property line as possible, so that that gap is fairly minor, that there wouldn't be the ability for crossover.
Right, 3 inches, I mean, but, yeah, I did not pick that up till just now. Sorry, that put you on the spot.
No worries.
Okay. So in other words, the other property owners could in fact squeeze through the 3 inches to get themselves to maintain their 6 inches. Okay. All right. Commissioner Davis?
Thank you, Chair. I just have one other comment. I could see the potential for somebody who lives in one of these homes 1 through 6 to want to maybe store some items, garden tools, or different things in that 3 foot area. I would hope there'd be something in deed restrictions or some sort of disclosure to those homeowners that maybe they shouldn't be doing that, because I would imagine the neighbors wouldn't want something like that to take place. But I can see where, I mean, the view fence is somewhat opaque. I could see where people might want to stash some things back there. So I think that's something to think about and how that can be mitigated.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Davis.
Yes.
Thank you,
Commissioner
Chair.
Gage?
This seems obvious, but was there ever any discussions with the property owners to build a new wall? The existing property owners build a new wall on the actual property line, giving them a few more inches into their backyard, and then taking away all of this confusion?
Chairman, Commissioner Gage, so for what planning staff has heard is that the developer and neighboring property owners have been trying to work through a resolution for placing the wall on the correct property line for a shared wall, but unfortunately at this time there doesn't seem to be a solution between the two parties.
Okay.
So I know we have the developer here as well, if they can, speak on some of the previous conversations and how it's got to this point. But from what I understand is that there have been negotiations between the two parties, but they just haven't been able to come to a resolution.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Well, does the developer have a presentation that they'd like to give? Please.
I don't believe there's a presentation, but they are available for questions, comments, and et cetera.
Okay. Do we want to ask these questions?
I do.
Okay, yeah, please have them come up then. Thank you. You got to hit the button on the base. It'll turn red when it's, there you go.
There we go. Thank you. Good evening, Commission. My name is Jason Sangs. I'm with iPlan Consulting, 3317 South Higley Road in Gilbert. Here to speak on behalf and with Woodside Homes to kind of try providing some clarity to the points that have been brought up. In its essence, the application tonight is generally, as staff said, an administrative function of the town, but due to the involvement with the neighbors and concerns with the transparency, it's been brought forward as a hearing item, although it's typically administrative. So, but we do want to thank staff for continuing to work with us, and we do thank staff for their support. And I think all of these questions that have been raised are good questions. And so, as we discuss through this, and in respect to the neighbors that all have their concerns, we want to make sure we keep coming back full circle to center that this is a request for a plat amendment to allow a view fence to be built 3 feet from the existing wall. The existing subdivision has been there since '87. That wall is almost 40 years old. And the original sin in this case was that that wall was inadvertently built 4 inches into those properties. So when we did, acknowledging we did do a survey on this and we were off by 4 inches at some level, the property line was understood to be underneath the middle of that wall. It turns out that it wasn't. So in common development practice, neighbors would be on both sides of the wall, right? And then you'd have kind of a shared understanding, which is common amongst all residences, that we would fix the wall if the wall fails, or we would all take care of it, which is being good neighbors. We also understand that this project came in many, many years after the original subdivision. And it's, you know, perhaps it was nice to not have any development on the other side of that wall. So I think that this subdivision coming in really perhaps wasn't as desirable of a development to happen for the neighborhood. They probably didn't want this neighborhood to develop. But even that said, the reason why we haven't come to an agreement on simply rebuilding this wall, which was our first, that's what we came in for originally and approved for. This project is permitted and built. These lots are finished. The roadways are in, the utilities are in, and we've pulled our first permit for a house. So it's not like a prospective subdivision, it is a real subdivision that's already in play. The walls we're discussing are also not required by code. You're not required to wall your backyard in. You're not allowed to build a double wall. So that's what we're up against. We want to provide a useful backyard for our residents, and in that sense, we do want to enclose our yards. People have dogs, people have kids, people have safety concerns. But we can't make our neighbors let us connect to their wall, and otherwise just leave like this random gap of 4, 8 inches. So we have a problem. We can't build a double wall, coming back to that, so what can we do? In working with staff, they wanted a view fence so that we could see through it, not create this weird no man's land. It's still awkward, but it's a solution. We can't force the other neighbors to let us rebuild the wall. We can't do it. We haven't talked to the neighbors, a couple of them recently, because we received demand letters from 2 of them asking for compensation to the tunes of hundreds of thousands of dollars. The cost of this wall is like 130 grand. The neighbors, if we could come to an agreement, would be getting a free rebuilt wall because the current 40-year-old wall is not in the best shape. And unfortunately for our prospective new homeowners, it's unsightly. Our homeowners really don't want to look at this 40-year-old wall that's kind of falling apart. But we can't make them let us rebuild the wall. It's on their property. So our interim solution is we need to move forward. The second part of this is that, understandably so, the town of Gilbert is holding our ability to submit housing permits for any of those lots. So this project has been in limbo for months. This isn't like we just found out last week. It's been 6 months since we got demand letters from the neighbors. I mean, a 26-point demand letter when they were already getting a newly rebuilt piece of infrastructure for free. We get it, clean up, fix the vegetation, don't make a mess, do it right. We get that. But when you get 26 points into this and then requests for all kinds of other compensation, it becomes very difficult. So we're here tonight to ask you to bless our solution. The CCNRs will require maintenance, no storage in this little gap. I think Commissioner Davis mentioned that. There will be restrictions. They're required to keep the fence, keep it clean, maintain, try not to touch the 4 inches of dirt, but keep their site clean, and maintain this. So that's where we're at today. We are literally held hostage to this issue. So please do help us move forward. I'm happy to answer questions.
Thank you, sir. Anyone have any questions for the applicant? Commissioner Wang?
Thank you, Chair. So help us to understand, so I think the way, I guess the easier way is to build that wall
Right.
on the property line, move the old wall, tear down the whole wall and build a new wall on the property line, and it's the developer's responsibility per code. And the only reason you guys are not doing it is because you can't come to agreement, there's some sort of a demand for compensation. Is that the only reason?
Through the chair, Commissioner Wang, that is actually correct. The problem when you have multiple property owners, I know they're all here tonight, and I'm sure they're all wonderful people and good neighbors, is that they all have different demands. And so we've received 2 demands from different neighbors with a whole litany of things that they all want tailored to them that really don't have that much to do with the wall. I get that there's impacts and there's concerns, and I can hear the sighs. I understand. I've worked with neighborhoods my whole life, and I understand your concerns. But what we're getting at is that we're literally held hostage from pulling a house permit for a lawfully permitted subdivision, and it's finished lots, until this wall thing is settled. And our settlement is build a view fence, because we have no indication that we can even get, let alone all of them. We still have a couple of them that could hold out. And if all of them don't agree to be reasonable and allow us to rebuild that wall in the property line, we're going to be stuck forever. Now, what we can do is if we can move forward tonight and get your blessing on this solution, which is the most viable solution, we can still continue to work with the neighbors, but we're going to have to get through those demands. I've never seen it. It's like off the chart. And I get why they're asking for it, but it's not normal. And we're asking for a reasonable path forward, because the cost of those demands are multiple times the cost of the wall. And the wall's already free to them, so that's where we're at.
Okay, thank you.
And I think, and I'll ask this, but more as a clarifying, that it's not just, that it's that you can't, even if you wanted to build your wall, you can't do it because of the non-double wall too. Like it's not just that there's not the agreement. You can't just say, okay, I'll put my wall in and we just won't mess with it, because you'd have that gap. So, Vice Chair?
Yeah, I just, the characterization that we're holding you hostage, I mean, the city permits projects and extracts permit conditions on every single project, and developers bind themselves, and we're bound by state law. So I don't, the characterization in general is wrong. And while I think you referred to the original sin as the original wall, and I agree with that, but the original sin of this project was bad surveying by your surveyor, who I think made a pretty rookie mistake and assumed that the wall was on the, so there's and yeah, I'm not blaming well, I am a little bit blaming them, but not blaming you, but it has led to a cascade effect of interpersonal fighting that is the thing we can't get past, but that's not the city holding you hostage. So I think that's a bad characterization.
Through the chair, Vice Chair Fay, I retract that. I apologize. What I'll say is we simply can't move forward with permits. And if I may, I'll retract that verbiage. And you're correct. And I don't want to mischaracterize it. I'm trying to be candid and transparent so that we can have thoughtful communication. And I do the same with the neighbors. I think from the perspective of Woodside is that we're many, many months in. Again, it's not just a delay of a few weeks. We have multiple lots waiting months and months, and we don't have any end in sight. It's not like we're this close.
I get it. You've got cash and cash flow that's held up, and you want to get moving. That's fair. We're thick-skinned. You don't need to apologize. I just wanted to shift the discussion a little.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? All right. Well, thank you very much, sir. I appreciate the information. Okay, and with that, I will open it up to the public comment, and I do have a comment card. And I have Mr. Rob Guderian, and he's opposed the item, wishes to speak, and has requested that as a representative, to other people to have additional time. And luckily, due to my extreme amount of magnanimity, I will grant that, and the fact that you're allowed to do it. So you can have 10 minutes, sir. Please come up and state your name and address, which I think is pretty well known at this time, but go ahead and 10 minutes.
Thank you, Commissioner and members of the Planning Commission and planning staff, legal, and town council representatives. I appreciate the opportunity to address you. Again, my name is Rob Gadarian. I live at 331 North Riata Street. I'm one of the 8 neighbors that border this. I have that wedge-shaped lot there. These are the neighbors. We are all in unison. We meet regularly and talk about this, so they have agreed kindly to let me represent them and the concerns here. I do want to set the record straight on a lot of the things that have been said and some of the questions that have been asked, because as has been the case since day one with this case, there are a lot of factual misconceptions. So I want to set the record straight. I thought I had done this, but I'll do it again very clearly. So Commissioner Anderson, you asked, and Jason alluded to this original sin of this wall being built off the property line accidentally or inadvertently. That is not the case, Commissioner Anderson. I think I have submitted several emails. I've submitted them to the town. We've reviewed them with Sal DeSanto. Our as-built engineering plans for Stonebridge Lakes, where we live, were approved by the town of Gilbert, your predecessors, in March of 1987. In those grading plans, you can clearly see a differentiation in the wall designs between the southern lots of Stonebridge Lakes and other exterior lots of Stonebridge Lakes. The south side of Stonebridge Lakes borders the Groves of Gilbert and Meadowbrook condos on Burke Street. And the designer and the town approved that the lots on the south side of Stonebridge Lakes be shared walls built intentionally on the property line. And the other exterior lots of Stonebridge Lakes border the Western Canal, SRP's right-of-way, and then our 2 lines there of what was the Knight property before it was sold to Woodside Homes. Those were intentionally built within our property line because the existing property owner there did not want a shared wall. And so that is confirmed on the as-built engineering drawings for Stonebridge Lakes back in 1987. So I want to clear that up. This is not a mistake that our walls were built inside our property lines. They were built there very intentionally, and we have paid for them via the purchase of our lot originally. So I wanted to clear that up, Commissioner Anderson, and hopefully that answers your question. Chairman Munt, you had asked questions about will these connecting walls connect? I want to talk about that later on because there's a lot of misinformation, and I believe, I'm going to use this word strongly, but you've seen me here for 8 months in a row for good reason. I think you're being misled by some of the data that you've seen and these applications, and I'm glad this is still up on the screen. I'm going to talk about this. But for the vast majority, there will be 5 connecting walls between these 6 lots. If they maintain and respect our property rights, there is 8-inch gap at the back of those. So you have a 65-foot wide lot, 3 foot deep. I don't know why we use the word buffer zone. This is just the backyard of their property. There is nothing special about this. This isn't common property. This belongs to the lot owners of 1 through 6. So that's just a buffer zone. And then they do have walls that will have an 8-inch gap at the end before they connect to our wall. And I'll talk about the safety and liability concerns of that. Let me bring up some other issues that I believe where Woodside Homes and their engineering partner EPS have not been forthright in accurately portraying this proposal to you, and it is for these reasons that I'm recommending that you vote against this proposal now. The first one is the drainage issue. Sal DeSanto from Planning talked about this, alluded to it, and made a condition that we need to see some future drainage. They have not represented the current and accurate situation on the ground over here. And I have a loud voice. Will you allow me to go over here and point to what I'm talking about here on the screen?
Is there a laser pointer?
Oh,
There might be.
maybe if there's, is there a laser in this one? I don't see one.
Sal may know.
Yeah.
Sal's really good. Sal's really good with a laser.
Is it in here?
I think there's this little green guy.
Green guy. Okay.
Perfect.
Well, I don't want to point anybody's
Does
eye.
that work? Awesome. Cool.
So what EPS Group and this, and on behalf of Woodside, has presented here is a completely level patch of ground that's 3 feet 8 inches wide between their view fence and our existing wall. That's not the case. Our existing grade, which again was approved 40 years ago by your predecessors, slopes down. The existing grade is below our grade over here and slopes down. This was, again, intentional because this was farmland. What is now 33 North was farmland, and it was flood irrigated by SRP. So all the water had to drain to the center of that. So that was by design. And they have been over here compacting and placing 12 to 14 inches of dirt against our wall, knowingly over the property line, so that they could make our property match theirs. Okay, let me make sure you have the sequence of events right. July 14th, they filed a revised plat map which acknowledged our property line. October 28th, 3.5 months later, Woodside Home employees are over here with heavy equipment, placing and compacting dirt against our wall over the property line so that this matches right here and so that this is nice and level. My wife went out because she happened to be home and told the Woodside employee, you need to remove the dirt from my property line. And instead of saying yes or no, this Woodside employee said, what, do you want water to pool up against your wall? Okay, that is not the action and the response of a good neighbor developer, okay? The second misrepresentation here is this distance between the wall and the property line. It is clearly labeled here 3 inches. Nowhere on any survey does it show 3 inches between the property line and the existing wall. I've sent all of you in the pictures, I believe, in my email last week. I've gone over this with Sal. The property markers are out there. There is at least 8 inches of distance between the property line and the vertical face of our wall. Okay, the wall between lot number 1 and lot number 2 will end 8 inches from our wall. 2 to 3, it will end 6.5 because it abuts a pillar in our wall. 3 to 4 and 4 to 5 will be an 8-inch gap in the wall. 5 to 6 will be about 6 inches. Okay, so they are misrepresenting the distance here, and I don't know why they would do that other than maybe with legal, they wanted you to think that this wasn't a legal risk, and you know, a pool fence, you have to have a maximum opening of 4 inches. Maybe they said 3 because that was less than 4, but that's clearly not what's happening on the ground, and they are misrepresenting those facts. Okay. I'm not sure, again, why we're calling this a buffer zone. This is just the backyard of these 33 North residents. There's nothing special about this. This isn't a common area. It won't be maintained by the HOA. It's just the back part of their lot. I'm not sure with an 8-inch gap back there how that meets the criteria of enclosed, an enclosed backyard, any more than a house with a back door would be enclosed, right? It's still very possible for children, pets, teenagers, debris, trash, water, all to have pure access along this wall between lots 1 and 6. They only need an 8-inch, if they can squeeze through an 8-inch gap, they're there, okay? That's twice the amount required for a pool safety fence. So I don't view this as an enclosed backyard, although I don't know what legal thinks about that. But I do know that this creates safety issues for us, liability issues for us if someone was to get stuck back there. And tragically, I will say that the Stonebridge Lakes neighbors on Silverado at the entrance here have had a child drowning in a pool. It's been several years ago, but it's not something that we want to repeat or enable. And with 8-inch gaps between those walls, you could easily have a child from lot 1 exit their gate, squeeze all the way down here. And fortunately, of our 8 residents, only one of them has a pool, but it's this middle lot on Vaughn Avenue down here. Because they've raised the grade again, that wall no longer meets pool safety standards. That was an issue that was brought up to the town of Gilbert by Rob Flinton, the vice president of Woodside Homes, in an email to town personnel back in February. And he recognized that that was a safety issue and requested to build that wall 1 course higher to ameliorate that issue. That issue apparently on the side of Woodside has disappeared and is no longer an issue. Woodside also did not notify town engineering about the implications of their revised plat map in mid-July. I spoke with town engineering, Mr. McDonald in town engineering less than 2 weeks ago, had no idea that there was an implication of moving the property line and drainage issues along my fence. So again, I'm opposed to approving this on the hopes that there's a drainage plan because there just isn't. There isn't a drainage plan possible here that doesn't require me to modify, and my neighbors, to modify our existing approved grades and drainage and walls. And without that, their dirt will slide onto our property, water will pool up against our walls and make them even weaker. Woodside knew this was an issue because they were out there in October placing dirt there, trying to fix the issue, but they didn't tell the town about that. Again, I don't view that as a good neighbor. I want to correct some of the other issues that Jason brought up. This issue is not a 40-year-old issue. As said, we have approved as-built plans that clearly show the wall was intentionally built within ours. The issue was caused by EPS Group's poor survey that tried to move the lot. Again, they try to minimize this. The middle of the wall to the property line is 10 inches. Okay, 10-inch survey error in these modern times is egregious. Okay, and there also is a complaint associated with this. So here we are, 10 months later. I notified Woodside of the property line issue in February. We're not holding them hostage. They presented a solution to us on May 15th. It was not complete. It would have required us to expend several $1,000s to finish the job. So we provided a counteroffer to Woodside Homes on May 31st, 6 months ago plus, and we have heard nothing from Woodside Homes. We don't have an endless list of hundreds of thousands of dollars, as Jason alluded to. We did ask for reimbursement of our survey costs. Between the 8 of us, we have $5,000 in survey costs. We surveyed all 8 lots to verify our own property line, as EPS was trying to appropriate it. We have some legal fees because we did have to submit a demand letter. We submitted a demand letter because Woodside Homes started stuccoing the back of our walls, and we had to go intervene. You guys, permitting, Town of Gilbert, has issued 2 permits to them at least, one to build a boundary wall. With that permit, they brazenly built that boundary wall over the northwest corner property marker and connected it to my neighbor's wall, Mr. 3. You gave them a grading permit, and they brazenly have graded dirt over the property line against our wall. EPS Group, less than 2 weeks ago, on November 21st, was out there pounding survey nails into the base of our wall to mark these lot dividing walls. Now, given the history that we've had with Woodside, what do you think they were going to do with survey markers in our wall? They were planning on building those lot dividing walls and not leaving an 8-inch gap. They were going to blow through our property line and connect those to the wall. So rest assured that we will be erecting temporary barriers along these lot dividing walls that will prevent them from encroaching on our property. We will remove them when construction is complete. Last point, thank you for indulging me. We are open to a solution. We are unified. We meet regularly. We talk regularly. Woodside has not responded to our proposal from 6 months ago. We have 2 main concerns. We have no out-of-pocket costs, and we want an 8-foot wall. We have offered the privilege of moving our wall to Woodside Home for no cost. We are not charging them hundreds of thousands of dollars just to move our wall. There's nothing like that in there. We didn't want them to even proactively pay for our landscaping. We just asked them for a 2-year guarantee that if our mature landscaping dies, which could cost thousands of dollars, that they replace it in the next 2 years. We feel that was a very fair statement. So I resent being characterized as part of holding them hostage or not being a good neighbor. We have worked with them extensively. I invited Sean Terrell and Carl into my home to explain all these issues on May 2nd. And so we have talked, but they have ceased all communication since May 31st of this year, over 6 months ago. They have continually misrepresented the facts to you, legal, planning commission, town. They're just not telling the truth. That is not a good neighbor. Sean Terrell was at this podium, that podium, in April, 8 months ago, and said, we'll be a good neighbor and we'll fix this. Here we are, 8 months later. I know you're tired of seeing me and hearing from me. Believe me, I'm tired too. I did ask them to reimburse a lot of my research fees. I have done extensive research on this. I wish that they would have done extensive research on this and we wouldn't be here in this situation in the first place. With that, I guess I could just say to Woodside, you know, the words good neighbor ring hollow, but we are still willing to demolish our wall and move it to the actual property line as long as we don't have to pay anything out of pocket to subsidize their development. And I think along with that, a fair ask is their shoddy survey work by EPS Group forced us to hire our own surveyors. I have a 40-year-old survey. I have a 40-year-old approved plat map. okay, that show all this. I had to go out and pay for all that again. I think reimbursement of those costs is more than fair. My offer to provide the privilege of moving my wall for free is not an eternal one, an infinite one. It has a time limit, and I am tired of waiting. 6 months is long enough. I agree. We have never balked at the development here. We've known for 20 years that this was zoned single-family 7. We knew this was coming. We don't want to oppose Woodside Homes building their 10 homes there. We just don't want it done on our property and at our expense. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, just to clarify then, is there anyone else that wished to speak on this item that is here? If you did wish to speak, you'll need to fill out a comment card, sir, and you can do it after, but if you wanted to. Did you want to? Yeah, you can speak. I'll need a comment card, so you can speak now, just state your name and your address, and then you'll have 3 minutes, but then make sure to fill out one of these yellow cards, and Rob can show you, but just to have your names for the record, because that'll go in.
Good evening. I'm sensitive to you guys. I've been and done a little construction. I've been through the
Sir,
building.
just to clarify, sorry, if you want, please state your name first and your address, and then just address us as the commission, not Dan, please. Thank you.
Sorry. I'm Ed Bailey. I'm a property owner along this back wall. I believe it's six. I must say that I'm sensitive to the difficulties that they may have come up with. But I guess my biggest question about this whole situation is, we've been down this road before. This has gone on for over a year. And we talked about the wall, we talked about the fence, and we've got no response. And I don't understand how we can get this far on any project and start talking about the fence. I mean, if the proper work and groundwork was done before anything began, we wouldn't be here. So I would just reinforce what my colleague said. This is a tough problem that we're going to have to work out. But I don't see how we can work on a project like this and wait 10 months to work on a problem. I appreciate your consideration, but that's the one thing that sticks in my craw about this. Now, tonight we're worried about problem and making other people happy and make this thing work. I don't want anybody going broke. I don't want anybody taking such a hit on this. But you can't wait 10 months to start deciding what problems are. In the other room, I stood at the pulpit about a year and a half ago, and I said, guys, the number one problem in this project is going to be this lousy fence. That wasn't, I don't believe it was to these guys, but, and I said that to the city is, what are we going to do with the fence? And here we are 10 months later, we've gone all through this time, all the discussion, and we're right back to square one. It's a tough decision, but I wouldn't want to be in your shoes, but it's a problem that has to be solved, and it should have before, and now we shouldn't complicate it by simply going back and trying to be obligated to go one way when, in fact, it should have been taken care of before, and so we leave our concerns with you. And then I'll write the card.
Thank you very much, sir. Okay. Then with that, is there anyone else that did wish to speak? Sir, just state your name and address, and then make sure to fill out a card when you're done, please.
Yes, my name is Herb Selby. I live on East Vaughan, 708 East Vaughan. As a former developer and as an engineer, I have been very concerned about the way this whole thing has been handled. The elevation on those lots is nearly 18 inches above our lot lines. Those walls were never constructed on the back line to take that hydraulic pressure that land behind us is going to take now that it's 18 inches higher. They're strictly 4-inch walls. Not a good situation. And on top of that, they tore up our brand-new street on Vaughn as they did the infill. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, with that then, I would just say we can move to, if the applicant would wish to respond, please come on up and have 5 minutes, respond to some of the comments, please.
Thank you, Chair and Commission, and thank you to the neighbors for going through their items of concern. Just a few responses in regard to the original builder wall and the discrepancy on the survey. Woodside Homes and EPS Group have both acknowledged the 4-inch to 8-inch to 3-inch discrepancy on the survey, and that's since been corrected and filed. So that part has been done, and it does create a lot of muddy water. That's understandable from the discourse. We don't have an outstanding civil issue here tonight that we're asking this commission to resolve. We're not asking the commission to resolve any of these civil matters tonight. What we're asking for, and we don't have a legal obligation to fill an 8-inch gap on a wall or not fill an 8-inch gap on a wall, and we're not asking to build on their property or the privilege of constructing a new wall. What we're asking for tonight is to simply be able to build a view fence 3 feet on our own property. And we are asking that this normally be an administrative task, but it's been brought forward as a courtesy to all, and I get that. But, in the same respect, any one of these neighbors could build a 6-foot view fence in their backyard, and we wouldn't have to come here tonight. So I get it, this is the builder doing it, but this is on lot. We're not asking to go on their lot and do something. We're not asking to connect to their wall. It has since been determined, and as nice as everybody is, they're well-spoken, the gentleman is very well-researched. I get it, he's a data-driven gentleman. But all of that said and done still brings us back to the fact that the builder wall is on their property and we can't connect to it. And it's one thing to say they want to work together, but if I presented the demand letters to you, which we obviously aren't doing, it tells a different story. And that will get settled in a different manner outside of here. And so why haven't we spoken with them? Well, because their demand letters said that we had to go through their attorney's office and not talk to them anymore. We can talk to them through their attorneys, but that just created quite a barrier. And we said, well, we're going to take the wall off the table, and we're going to do a view fence per town's suggestion that we have visibility through this gap, and we move forward. So I hope you understand that this is Plan B, but I think that Plan B is reasonable. So I hope that helps.
Thank you, sir. Okay. All right, then, do we want to have staff? Sal, did you have any other comments or updates, or do we have any questions for Sal as a follow-up? I actually do have a question for you, Sal. Since you already stood up, I'll at least make it worth your while.
I do too.
Yeah. So my first question is, as it relates to the procedural going forward of permitting and everything else, if the developer didn't want, because they're not required to have a wall, they could just pull a permit and plop a house in there now, and then the new neighbor would just have to have like a sign on that 8 inches that says, don't, beware of dog or something. But they could build it right now. Am I understanding that correctly?
Chair Munt, you are correct. And just building off that a bit more, planning staff has been working with the neighbors and the developers for the last few months to try and create to establish a resolution that, made both parties happy with the development. I believe we ended up, I think we're in review 6 now. So we've been through various design iterations of what this view fence might look like, solid view, how much the view fence would be set back from the property line. So there have been ongoing discussions weekly with the neighbors and the in the developers to try and resolve this issue as best as we can. As the developer mentioned earlier, the town has also held some of these building permits for the entirety of the subdivision until we got to a resolution with this lot line. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to come to that resolution just yet, so the building permits have been released on lots 7 through 10, just because there are no, ongoing concerns with those lots and just establishing the ability to develop on those lots. But to your point, Chairman, no walls technically are required on the rear lot. This was just a want from the developer to sort of align with that typical single-family residential that we've grown accustomed to here in the valley.
And just to clarify, when we say that the lot line has not been, figured out yet, we actually know exactly where it is now.
Correct.
But it's more the dispute or whatever, conflict. Oh, God, I was trying to find a softer word and I went harder. Whatever between where it is, but we know the line is where it is. Okay, all right. Vice Chair, did you have any?
Sal, my understanding is what's being recommended is there's still the drainage issue. That we're still looking for a new drainage report. That's still being revised regardless of what we do tonight. That's my understanding from the documents?
Chairman, Vice Chair Fay, that is correct. So based on the administrative application for an open space plan amendment, the required grading and drainage documentation wasn't necessarily required for what was proposed with the application. But since that point, since the grading and drainage issues have come to light from the neighbors, we have made sure that our development engineers have been a part of the reviews. And to this point, there doesn't seem to be a big issue related to grading and drainage with this view fence design. We do have Tom Condit here as well with the development engineering team, who may be able to provide a bit more information on that. But from what I've heard, it wouldn't necessarily create a massive issue with the site.
Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Davis?
Thank you, Chair. Sal, one of the comments made was related to the pool fence standards and the liability of that with one of the lots that had a pool. Does this fence, I assume there's something that can be done with that gate to make that comply with the pool fence requirements, self-closing, locking, whatever that is. I guess, does this fence meet the foothold requirements and that kind of thing to create that barrier? Do you know, is that an actual concern? Does that fence really not meet that pool fence requirement, or is that something that you'd have to look at?
Chairman, Commissioner Davis, that's something we'd have to look at in a bit more detail from our end, just because the conversation of the pool fence is fairly new to us, and given the context, no pools in the area, we're looking at the base, fence, walls, standards, and how they can apply for these individual lots.
It seems solvable. It was something that they brought up, so I was curious. Thank you.
Commissioner Huang?
Thank you. Quick question. So the existing wall, and then you got a fence 3 feet and 6 inch away, and then you have a 3 feet lateral fence all the way to the property line that not touching this existing wall. Is that a town requirement, or why do we build that blocking, separating between the 6 lot?
Chairman, Commissioner Huang, the intended purpose to bring these east walls over to the property line was to mitigate any kind of trespassing issues between the Stonebridge the 33 North or Woodside Homes development. If these walls didn't connect or travel to the true property line, there would be an alley that would be accessible from the north of the development all the way to that southwestern corner, which does not pass through. So if somebody saw that path, thought it was part of the canal trail system that it's adjacent to, could ultimately get trapped in that area. So by providing that view fence and bringing those perpendicular walls, we're creating an opportunity to enclose each of these lots without creating any potential safety issues that may occur.
But with those few inches, you potentially, you're still having the same problem that you're trying to prevent. Is that all right?
Chairman, Commissioner Hong, it is possible, yes.
And what is the minimum width for if, let's say hypothetically, if this go through both end, if this is an alley, what's the width, minimum width for alley?
Chairman, Commissioner Huang, I don't know if we have specific standards for the widths of alleys, but this 3-foot buffer zone, or this 3-foot separation from view fence to property line, was ultimately decided upon because 3 foot is a typical sidewalk width within the town of Gilbert, and 3 foot is also, after speaking with our fire and building department, is a typical buffer zone for maintenance. So we tried to incorporate a few other standards to try and create as much space as we could in this area. But ultimately, the 3 foot is what we landed on from the property line, so it is a constant 3 foot throughout.
So 3 foot is the sidewalk in town of Gilbert for residential? I thought it's 5. I might be wrong. Minimum?
I may be incorrect, but I think ADA requires a minimum of 35.5 inches, and
Okay.
everyone in the world rounds up to 36, I think.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any more questions, comments, concerns, celebrations for staff? All right, Sal, well, I guess that's it then. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Thank you all.
Okay, well, then we'll close the public comment, and we will bring it up here to the dais for some discussion. Who would like to start the discussing? Okay, great. I will then. I'll just say that this is unfortunate, and I think a number of cascading events have taken place that have caused it to become quite a quandary where one would hope one would not be. You know, and I look at this view fence as a cosmetic thing that is meant to try to kind of say, okay, well, we have to get something here, and I understand it. But the eventuality of what I'm hearing between the grading and drainage, you know, on one side, I'll say, if this was flood irrigated and it was agricultural, all of the irrigation was up against the current wall. And so any of the stuff that is happening there would have been happening for some time. But besides that, well, I'm just saying that the water would flow. And, okay. But anyway, so it's been there for a long, long time. The wall is very old, 40 years. I won't, speculate on that. I know in my own house, my wall is soaked because I have a garden I thought I could plant, and it's completely eroded away. And I can't imagine what would happen if I did that for 20 years. So I just see that there's going to be a significant amount of additional unfortunate instances that we are setting ourselves up for. And it is even furthermore unfortunate in the sense that the authority with which we have to do anything is highly limited. We don't have any right to say, no, you can't build here because you need to do this wall. Anything that dealt with a survey that was erroneous is going to have to flow through that. So it's not even the developer's fault per se, because they can then attach all of that legality into the survey. And at the end of the day, new homeowners are going to move into sites 1 through 6 and are going to grab a massive bag filled with all of these issues. And I just think it's a shame that we are in this situation. The other side of that is that what is being proposed in this application, and the fact that it's in the current process now administrative, but it was brought forth to be able to have it all in a public hearing, we are not up here to adjudicate anything as it relates to drainage. We're not up here to adjudicate anything as it relates to the property lines, the existing wall, or anything. What we're being asked is, if we want, and this is from the applicant, if we want to build our houses, can we put this view fence on our own yard? And to me, it's not within our authority, from my purview, to tell them, no, you can't, you have to do something else. So, long-worded answer, I don't know, and I would love any and all input from my illustrious other commissioners to help me to better understand. Commissioner Wang?
Try. This is a difficult one. I think I hear this several times, between the surveyor, the property line, and I think the right way is still the correct way, the right action still should be the correct way is to build a wall on the property line, creating that 3 feet, 6 inch or 8 inch, whatever you want to call it. It's basically having a no man's zone, and neither does the existing owner and the new owner want in between those two. And I'm looking at some of this lot that if something would have happened to the existing wall, the owner has to deal with 2 other property owner on the other side of the wall, because you need to move some dirt or equipment or whatever. And I think we're kind of kicking the can down in the road. I hear there's a lot of kind of back and forth. I'm still hoping might be a door still not shut, that maybe 2 parties can come together, can solve this to do it right once and for all, than just kind of fixing this halfway. Because, we're building this new fence, and then you have a lateral, have a few inches and not even touching the wall, and I don't feel good about it. That's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Davis?
Thank you, Chair. I agree with what's been said. Ideally, that 8-foot wall would be the best thing to do, because then you kind of fix this long term. You fix the height discrepancy, they get more privacy, all of those things. It's unfortunate that we're here. It's unfortunate that it wasn't found sooner. I don't know where we'd be if this had been found early on, if we'd still be having, if it would have had disagreements with getting that wall in, I don't know. But again, I think it's going to be confusing for property owners down the road to understand what they can and can't do with that space, and that they can't connect to those walls. And I hope some of that information doesn't get lost in the shuffle as these houses sell. But I don't see where we really have the purview, because it's a private property rights issue. I don't, as a commission, see where we have the purview to say that they can't do what they're proposing. So I guess that's where I stand.
Thank you, Commissioner. I see your finger on the trigger there, Vice Chair. Would you like to?
Yes, sir.
Take it away.
I know there's a whole bunch of issues here, but to me, there's 2 that are, I don't know if it's only 2 or 2 that are within the purview of us. The first, obviously, is the wall, and resolving this wall issue. And really, it comes down to, I think, the applicant is saying, we're going to step back so that it's like a little disenfranchisement zone. We're going to, I use the analogy, it's like in the 70s when your parents separated you in the back seat from your sister, that you get that 1/4 of the back seat, you get that 1/4 of the back seat, and nobody touches the middle. And I don't like it, but I don't know that we can stop it, or should necessarily. The other one, and with respect to the chairman, that I don't know that drainage is, I think drainage is probably, and I think it's gonna be a bigger problem to resolve on this one than, or maybe Tom's, actually, I know Tom's smarter than I am, so he probably has got something in mind, and I'm having a hard time getting my mind around it a little bit, but my understanding is these properties have basically been draining onto the farm for the last 40 years. I don't think the farm probably restricted its deed in any way, so I don't know that the new property owners have to accept the drainage off the properties. So I don't know that, particularly given that the negotiations over the wall have broken down, I don't know that that's going to be a simple resolution. But Tom, my understanding is there's a new drainage report coming in, and you've got that one, so the baton is passed as far as, I don't know what the answer is, but I think you got some problems to work through there. Those are the two that are kind of sticking in my craw. The drainage one, I can refer to Tom with the guidance to, good luck with that. The wall itself, I'm still just, man, this is just a pain. And I'm still not altogether okay with the gaps that, I'm sorry, Sal, when I talked to you earlier, I did not mentally make the connection that the lateral walls, the east-west CMU walls, wouldn't go all the way. They'd pierce the alleyway, but they wouldn't go all the way. And if there's an 8-inch gap, is it even an enclosed backyard at that point? That's kind of the part I'm grappling with. Usually I do a lot more research. Well, I do a fair amount of research, but usually I come mentally to a stronger conclusion, and I've kind of gotten knocked off my positions on some of these things based on tonight's stuff. So that's what I'm grappling with, Chairman.
Thank you, Vice Chair Fay. You know, I agree. I don't even like the idea of putting the side wall or the east-west walls between them in. However, I don't know that as property rights that I'm able to say you can't do this, or that, and I should say I have the right to say anything I want. It's whether or not that I feel like that authority is something that should be granted to a body to tell a property owner that they don't have that right. There's the fundamentalist in me. Anyone else? Commissioner Wang?
Since I don't get to sit here too often, so I might take the opportunity. It sounds to me as the developer is ready to build a wall, tear down the old one, build a wall with no cost to the existing homeowner. But they just don't want to pay for anything extra other than the construction of the wall and the design of the wall. And the existing owner, rightfully so, that spend some money on the survey and engineering and all this to try to correct, whatever in the past. But the thing is, other commissioners saying, developer has right to build right now. If they go pull a permit, build a house, there's nothing we can do about it. And you will not get any extra compensation anyway. And also, you don't get the new wall. So again, I would like to see, maybe two-party come to a resolutions and do things right, not only just for today, but also for the future owner as well. Because one day, if you decided to sell your house or, pass it to your, children or, then you get this gap, it's gonna be confusing. So that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Anyone else want to throw something in or else to do a motion as it relates? We're not very good radio broadcasters with our dead air here.
May I ask a question?
Yeah, Commissioner Gay.
Sal, if you don't mind, is there a requirement for a home builder to have an enclosed backyard?
Are you asking Sal the question? Because then I'd have to reopen.
Oh, no, Sal, please sit down.
Look, you see the attorney's eyes, right? The gaze upon me? So, but I think I can answer that there's not a requirement.
Okay,
That they can build the house without a wall, and that the town does not require a wall. We just see them everywhere because
that's what people want.
we like to have our own little boxes.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Wang?
Yeah, so it sounds like today they can go ahead and go build, but just without a wall. And today we are approving or disapproving the wall or the fence, whatever you want to call that. But either way, it wouldn't stop the developer to build.
That's my understanding
Because
as
they
well.
already have the lot, they already have the improvement on the street and everything, so.
Well, and the way that I look at this is more in the sense of like the prisoner's dilemma, in the sense of if, look at the two actions. We say, okay, no, we're gonna fight, you can't do this view fence, then they're gonna build lots, or they're gonna find something else, that'll happen. But they could just build, somebody's going to buy this house, move their family in there, then, their kids will be in the backyard playing ball, and the ball goes into that 8-inch no man's land. And then the disputes are going to move into animosity between these homeowners. Theoretically. Well, not over the fence, I'm saying but I'm just saying that the action of doing nothing, I feel, creates just as much, if not more, issues than putting a view fence in.
Chairman, if I may, they do have an approved open space plan and wall plan. And so in order to move forward and develop anything different than what's on that plan, there does need to be an amendment made to it. So that's why we're holding those permits, because there is an approved plan that they can't build to.
Oh, so so the approved plan, they are unable to construct due to the. So they
Correct.
need something that changes that. But if we were to say, okay, we don't like this wall, then the developer has to go back. They could just submit a plan that says, we're not building a wall.
Correct.
Okay. Ugh.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Sure.
So the existing plan would float those sidewalls out to 4 to 8 inches off that back property line because they can't put in the parallel wall. So essentially, in that case, we don't have enclosed yards for pets and kids. So then they're coming in and putting in this fence, which a homeowner, I guess, could come in and do on their own to kind of create that enclosed space. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Chair, I'd like to make a motion.
Sure.
I guess with the caveat that I hope that they continue to have discussions and work through this wall issue and put in the 8-foot wall, because I think that's the best long-term solution for everybody, both sides of the fence. Sorry. But I guess my motion is to approve it with the staff conditions as Sal read into the record.
Thank you, Commissioner Davis. We have a motion on the table. Do they have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second from Commissioner Gage. Any other discussion or comments? Okay, please cast your votes.
Clarify.
Okay.
So a yes vote would be approving the fence that they propose.
The amendment
For
that's
the-
in front of
for-
us for the
for
view
the-
fence, yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, vote carries 5-2. I would like to point out that this was, and nothing into the developers or nothing against, but I will say that Mr. Gadarian and the neighbors put together an extremely comprehensive and compelling amount of information, and I will just echo that I really hope that there can be a amicable resolution, and I want that on the record, that I think they've done a lot and that they were put in a bad position by the original survey. So thank you all for coming, and we appreciate your time. Moving on, item number 9, we have Z25-12 LDC text amendment, International Headquarters. This is shown to be a continuance to January 7th, 2026 meeting. So I'll just entertain a motion on that continuance.
Chairman, I will move to continue that until the future meeting.
We have a motion from the vice chair. Do I have a second?
A second.
Second from Commissioner Wong. I assume there's no discussion. Please cast your vote. Motion carries 7-0. On to item number 10, Z25-16 LDC text amendment, preliminary grading permit applications. And the world-renowned Tom Condit.
Chair and Commissioners, I'll try and make this brief. This is an LDC text amendment. It's similar, no, I do not have one. It's similar to what you heard previously last month with respect to other LDC text amendments, but this one is just slightly different. With the passage of that House bill, all of us, the cities and towns, are required to authorize the staff to review and approve at-risk submittals for preliminary grading and drainage permits. Now, just a little bit of background on this. The town engineering staff in Gilbert, Albert Pineda has been with us for, I think, 37 or coming up on 38 years now. He informed me that ever since he started with the town, we have allowed at-risk grading. It just has not been codified. So what this does for us is it just puts it into our LDC that we actually do what we've been historically doing. But here's just a little bit of background. This is the actual House bill that was enacted into law that number 3 talks about at-risk submittals for preliminary grading and drainage. So it just codifies our current approach, authorizing that work, allowing us to establish fees, establishing some minimum criteria related to the applications and plans, allowing revocation of permits for various reasons, and making technical and conforming changes. So the next steps, if you approve this, is to go on to a council study session and a council hearing. And our request is that you approve Z25-16 at-risk grading and drainage program. And if you have any questions.
Thank you very much, Tom. Anyone have any questions for Tom on this item?
Yes, thank you, Tom.
No
and
coincidence.
Thank you for being brief. I used to be the guy who issued these things, and I did give them out pretty freely. I mean, we're all grown-ups, and earthwork is pretty forgiving. You can always redo it. It's not like concrete. But I will tell you, every single time that the at-risk got invoked, like the developer always came back and the first thing was to fight about, I don't want to do it. So when you present to council, make sure you beat the drum that this is at risk. If something changes, that's their risk, and and then be good to it. Sorry, you got to sorry, guys, you took the risk, you rolled the dice, you paid the price. Let's make sure you're beating that drum a little bit, okay?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Just it's more of a warning than a question.
Thank you.
Warning shot. All right. Anyone else have any questions or comments? Or, well, I guess I should open up the public and check. Is there anyone here that wishes to speak on this item? I'm not seeing anyone. Any other questions? Or should Tom go sit down? You sure?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, Tom.
My motion is
Thank
to,
you.
before I make the motion, Tom, when I said warn, I didn't mean I'm warning you. I meant, hey, heads up, this is what happens. So like, you're not bad. With that, Chairman, I would like to make a motion to approve item 10, the Land Development Code text amendment as written.
We have a motion on the table for item 10. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. Please cast your vote. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. On to the administrative items, and we'll go to item 11, the Planning Commission minutes. Let's consider the approval of minutes of the study session and regular meeting of November 5th, 2025. Anybody read them and have any adjustments they would like or make a motion?
Chairman, as long as reading them is not a precursor of doing this, I'd like to make a motion to approve item 11.
We have a motion from the vice chair. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second, of course, from Commissioner Gage. Please cast your vote. Motion carries 7-0. All right, communications. Do not have an executive session, and we will go to item 13 and a report from the chairman and members of the commission on current events. What do we got? Commissioner Lyon or Commissioner Wang, you got something? You guys are up here, you got a voice? Beat that drum? You notice you can say anything. You see what the vice chair does in the meetings. You just let it rip. Okay, well, then I'll make a motion that, the last meeting I missed a Little League game for the Mighty Muscles. And, since my return to coaching, we've gotten ourselves into the championship game tomorrow night. So if anyone's out around Crossroads Park, you want to come out and watch grown men yell at 8-year-olds, that's where you want to be. So, and my other son is also in his championship at the later hour. They play until like 10 o'clock at night, and it was very cold. So I would just say, please bundle up, because even my Wisconsin blood was out there shivering in my spring coat last night. So, all right, that's it for me. Then let's go to Ashley to see if there's any report on the planning services manager.
No current events, but this is our last meeting of the year, so just thank you for your service this year, and I hope everybody has a wonderful holiday.
Very good. Even you, Vice Chair. Okay, well, then with that, I guess I'll do a vote to adjourn. Or a motion, if one.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second the
We
motion.
have a motion, Commissioner Gage, and a second from the illustrious Vice Chair. Please cast your vote on the adjournment of this good meeting. Motion carries 7-0, meeting adjourned. Thank you all very much.
Yeah, and then you have like a few inches. Outside. I think